Okay, so the part that I ordered just arrived, and so let me go ahead and show you first what it is, and then let me go ahead and install it and show you why I needed it. All right, so back here on this BMW K75S, it does come with heated grips, but as with any old bike, some of the things don't always work 100%, and this is a perfect example that my heated grips don't work right now. So I've ordered some replacements, but they haven't arrived yet. In order to place these, it's a little bit involved. So you got to take the grips off, the connections underneath the tank, so I've got to take the tank off, which isn't a huge deal, but just a little bit more involved. But it is a little chilly outside right now. In our area, we can keep riding, but it does get a little bit chilly. So I've got my thicker gloves on, but it's still, when that wind hits the front of my fist, it gets pretty chilly. So I was going online and looking around, and people suggested that these, although it's not a K75 part, it does fit and it does help. So let's go ahead and open up the bag and see what we got. All right, let me see if I can open this up with one hand and show you what's in here. Go. And here it is. It's a handguard. And so these come off of a R100 GS. Now these just fit over the, oh, I lost the other one. They just fit over your handlebars and just provides a little bit of wind protection just to help with the cold in the mornings. So, all right, here's the other one. And just noticed on here it says it's made in Italy for a German motorcycle. So I thought that was interesting. So you used to be able to order these as a retrofit kit. So it would come with both hand guards, and I'm actually missing this third piece here, which I'll show you. It's on order, but you would be able to get this whole kit under as one part number, but it's no longer available from BMW. There's two colors. You can get it in the black or in the white, but the black one is no longer available. However, I did some digging around and you can still order it as individual pieces. It's a little bit more expensive if you order it separately as three pieces, but again, it is still available. So if you really want it, you can still get it, just not at the full kit price. I think the kit also includes a couple of screws, which I'll just have to go to the local hardware store to get. So let me go ahead and install these. This side's real simple. Take the mirror off and then fit this over it, and then put the mirror back on and a couple screws, and Bob's your uncle. All right, so I've got the mirror off, and you remember these are not the stock mirrors, and so this is a non-OEM fitting. I had to use a special coupler and a bushing, so this is why this doesn't quite look the same, but the idea is the same. So you basically clamp it inside, and then it'll fit over my mirror, and then I gotta put a little screw and nut on that side, and then we're done. Okay, so I've run into a small problem because I'm trying to get this coupler in order to get my aftermarket mirrors back in, but you can see the nut isn't long enough for me to fit the coupler through. So this, let me just take it off so you can see it. So you can see there's a bit of thickness there, and this coupler doesn't fit through it. Doesn't go through it. So what I probably need to do is just get a longer nut, or excuse me, a longer bolt to go from the bottom to come up the top, and then poke out at the top of this area so that I can get the coupler to fit back on. So let me run over to the hardware store, grab some bits and pieces, and come back to that. All right, so while I was at the hardware store, I realized that I also need this bushing that kind of goes in between the two parts to fit over this M5 bolt. But I'm sort of in between sizes. There was one that was too short, and I think this one's too long, because what you need to do is get this to fit in between the two plastic bits there. So once it goes through, put a washer and a nut on this side. And this is an M6 by 50, which I think is too long. I tried an M6 by 30 mil, and that seemed like it was too short with the shorter bushing. So I'm going to try another hardware store, see if I can get a better size. But the idea is that this is, when it goes around, install it, and then that's what pinches it and holds it by friction. And then you put this side holding with your mirror stock, and I may have to do a little bit of fiddling around with some bushings in order to get it to hold tight. So I think I can get it, install it using the hardware that I've got, but I'm going to see if I can find some better hardware and redo this. So let me try and put this on right now. So it's a bit hard to get in there with your fingers to get the bushing, there was a spacer in between there. So what I did was I got a pair of forceps and then held the bushing in place while I put the bolt down through the bottom. So let me see if I can do that with just one hand without losing anything. So here's the bushing, holding onto the bushing, and you kind of want to feed it through. Okay, so I think I've got it kind of in place there, and then I take the bolt here, slide it through while trying to get it into the bushing. Maneuver it here. Probably got to use two hands, so I'll be right back. So you can kind of see it there. I've got the bushing kind of in the center in between the two plastic bits, the bolt going from the top. Now I need to just put a washer and a nut on the bottom, and then we'll tighten it up and see what we got. Okay, so it's kind of hard to see, but here it is from the bottom. So you can see that the M6 by 50 is way too long. So what I was hoping for was like an M6 by 35 or an M6 by 40 to make this a little bit shorter. With that spacer in, it's kind of loose. So if we look from the top, you can see that it's kind of it's attached, but it's flopping around. So let me install the mirror part and see if maybe that will stabilize it. Otherwise, I maybe need to get like a thinner bushing or slightly shorter bushing to get this to be a little bit tighter. But if anybody has the right size, please let me know in the comments, and then I can go either order it from somewhere because it's you can order it from BMW, but it's $7 versus from the local hardware store. This bushing was only a dollar each. Again, if you're able to get your hands on the Retrofit Kit, it comes with all the hardware. But again, since we're buying it piecemeal, this is the way we've got to do it. So let me go ahead and install the mirror and see if it looks good that way. You can see, in order to get these aftermarket mirrors to work, I had to use a bolt. But I think if you have the stock mirrors, you can just screw it in from the top and it'll fill up this big gap here. So I'm still looking for a spacer or a bushing that can take up that space. But what I'm going to do right now is just get a big washer that'll fit over the top of it. And that way I can just go ahead and install it and see how it goes. So let me put that on right now. Okay, well, now that I've got this part attached, it doesn't seem too bad. It's still a little loose. So again, ideally, I'd like to get a bushing that's slightly shorter as well as slightly shorter bolt. So I'm going to go try another hardware store tomorrow morning and see if that fits a little bit better. But again, right now, it's just being attached where the mirror is. And if you can see from the other one, the mirror is only held up on the top. So actually, on this one, it's just being held on by the mirror. So how do I attach the bottom part? Ooh, gotta go look at that more closely on the other side. But on this side, it's just that one pinch bolt there that's holding it in, and then the mirror hardware is what's holding it in on this side. So I really think that bushing will help tighten this up. But for the time being, I think it'll work okay. So let me tighten everything up and see how it goes. So on the throttle side, it's a little bit different. So I went ahead and took the mirror out, and in order to take the bolt out from the bottom, you got to watch my other video, but you've got to take out so you can see there's the part that goes over the on the mirror, and then this hole here goes over your lever mount. So it'll just kind of snap into place. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that well, but here it is. So it just fits over that, and then again, just put the bolt in, mount it back up to where your mirror holds in. And again, I think I do need to find some kind of bushing. So now here you can see with the new bolt in, there's a bunch of space. So you want to try and I saw a nylon bushing. Until I find proper bushing, I'm just going to keep a washer on it, and then I'll use the coupler. And then when I find a bushing, I'll just redo it. But let's just put that on. And that seems pretty sturdy for just being attached sort of at one point. So that may be okay. It's a little floppy, but again, I think once I get that cover on, which will latch back here and then attach there, that'll create a third point of contact, keep it tight. So let me put everything back together and then put the mirrors on, and then we'll see where we're at, and maybe I'll go to the hardware store tomorrow morning, get some more parts, and try and see if I can make this a little bit better. Okay, so we do have everything attached. And with the mirrors installed, not super loose, but I think we can do a little bit better. So I'm gonna go see if I can find some other bushings to make this fit just a little bit better. I may just go to the BMW dealership and see what they've got to fit. But you can see I've got both sides on now, and this side seems to fit a little bit better. And again, there's a cover that will fit here and then screw onto the back. So maybe that will create a third point of attachment to help get it a little bit tighter. And then I've got to, I think, just tighten up the hardware on these because I think the mirror isn't fitting in the bushing as well as it did before. So I think I'm sort of in between sizes on the bolts and the hardware. So, and once I finalize the hardware, I will put all the descriptions of the lengths and the sizes in the description so that if you guys wanted to do this on your bike, that you'd be able to do so.
Several days later.
All right, so after multiple trips to the hardware store, I think I've got the bits and pieces that you need to fit the handguard to this K75. And again, because I wasn't able to purchase the kit to get all of the hardware bits, I had to kind of go mix and match and find something to use. And also, because I'm using aftermarket mirrors, this space here, this opening here needed to be necked down a little bit in order to get the aftermarket mirrors in. But I did find the parts. So what you'll need is M8 by 45, and that will attach the coupler, not create any gap. That seems to work pretty well. Then you want to get this nylon bushing or spacer, whatever you want to call it, and it's 8.3 millimeters interior diameter, and it's 12 millimeter outside diameter, and it's 10 millimeters tall. And so that fits into this space where the mirror stock would go. Popped it in, so there's the spacer. And now when you put the bolt in to hold the mirror on, it's nice and tight with the bolt. It does stick up a little bit, so you can see, so it's nylon, so you could sand it down to make it flush. I'm just going to leave it the way it is for the time being. Then on this side, where it's sort of clamped, you need an M5 bolt, and on the BMW's website it says M5 by 30 millimeters. That felt a little short, so I went up one size and went with M5 by 35 millimeter, which seems a little bit too long, but I think it's easier I can probably just trim down the bolt a little bit to get the right size. But you also need a little bushing to go in the middle here. And the metal ones, the aluminum ones I found just didn't seem to be the right size. This one seems to be almost the perfect size. Outside diameter is 8 millimeter, inside diameter is 5.3 millimeters, 10 millimeter long bushing, and that'll fit in here. So I'll put all the links to the bits and pieces in the description below, but let's go ahead and get this installed and see how it works. So just to repeat the process I did earlier, got a set of these locking forceps, and I've got the bushing held in there, but I kind of want to fit it right there and then slide the bolt on. So I may need to do two hands to do it, so let me go ahead and do that. Now that the bushing is in, I can kind of just slide the bolt through, and I'm going to try and see if I can do it with just one hand here, see how good my surgical skills are. But if I can hold that and this, okay, there. So I got it through. So that part's in, and then I'll run a bolt, a washer and a bolt on that side, and then over here, I'm just going to run the bolt from the bottom. So I've got the bushing in, the bolt in, and so all I need to do is cinch up this coupling nut, and that screws on nicely, and there's plenty of thread. You can see it gets nice and tight, and so I'll tighten it down, and then there's plenty of length in there for the mirror to get in, because before what you saw when I had that bolt that was too long is the mirror was bottoming out on that bolt that I had at the bottom. So let me go ahead and tighten this side up and show you this side, and then I'll go ahead and do the other side. Okay, so that's all installed. You can see it fits nice and snugly, no wobbling like I had before. And you can see that there's no more gap in between the different sort of couplers and bushings and reducers and all the different things I have. And then if you look underneath, you can see, I guess maybe an M5 by 30 might be long enough. So I may swap this out later, but it's not really going to bother me. It's sitting on the bottom. But I guess the M5 by 30 would work here to get that pinch bolt snugged up and held on. So let me go repeat the process on the other side. On this side, it's a little more straightforward. So all I've got to do is, that's for the bottom hole. So on the top one, I was trying to look for a bushing that had a flange on it, but I couldn't find one. So if you find one that has a flange on it, that might work better. Okay, there we go. So that's in. Yeah, I was saying if you can find an M8 bushing with a flange on it, that might work better. Let me give you an example of what I mean. So this isn't the right size, but if you could find one like this that has this really big surface area that would go on the top and go in like that, that would work better, I think, because that gives you more surface area for the nut to apply to. But again, you're not holding the bike together with this, so you just really just need to make sure it doesn't fall off. So again, this one, again, that bottom there goes around, there's a nut underneath, and then this one just kind of clips in place. And I'm still waiting for that top piece to go up here. So as soon as I get that, I will attach it, and then you just put the plate on here, and then you screw it from the back side. So real easy. But let me try and get this one on. All right, so now this side is on, and again, that nylon bushing actually smushes down pretty good. So, but it's nice and tight, so you can see the mirror stock's pretty stable. Again, there's no gap. So again, M8 by 45 mil seems to be the right size, and I think this will work. So now my handguards are attached, and we'll go ahead and take it out for a test ride and see if it actually does make a difference. My guess is it won't make a huge amount of difference, but when it's winter and you're getting some chilly air blown at your fingers, I think this little bit of deflection will help out. Okay, so we're riding along here, and it's not super chilly out, but I can definitely feel the cold air on my arms, and my hands feel okay. So it's coming off a little bit off the top. I could feel a little bit of wind just on the top of my knuckles. So I don't know if it's because my handlebars, this is an S, K75S, so the angle of the handlebars is a little bit lower, and I can feel the wind right there. So it does help a little bit just to deflect just a little bit of wind off, and I could use a windscreen because I can definitely feel the wind coming up on my chest. But so far these handguards seem to work. All right, so we got the final piece here from the dealership. It's just this little cover, which I opened up real quick. And you can see this cover just goes over your brake reservoir, and I can see I can fit it in there without taking the handguard off. I just did it a second ago, but kind of have to maneuver that in. Okay, so now it's on, and then it just needs a couple of screws in the back. So I'll go find some short screws, and that I think will hold it so that it's pretty steady on there. So that's it. Let me just get some screws on, screw that in tight, and then this job will be done. Please sign up for our newsletter in the links below. I'll share some more tool buying tips, some other classic car and classic motorcycle news, and maybe a wrenching tip. So thanks for watching.